Hello there, Ray here, and today guys I'll show you guys a new villager breeder for the latest snapshot. Now the same time that they made some changes to the iron golem farm, also did changes to the way that villagers will now breed. Now the major change is that the villagers have to think that they can get to a bed, and they also think they have to be able to get to the beds of the children that they make. So both these parent villagers need a bed, plus you need a third bed for their child. The villagers also need crops to breed, so you would want to hook this up to a crop farm. You can see this up here is fairly simple. We just got a bunch of pairs of villagers inside of these cells. We gave them some beds. We also have some crops being moved around the outside. And the villagers will be able to breed twice a day. They won't be able to breed at night. So every pair of villager is able to produce 2 children per day. And all the baby villagers are just collected over here. And this is where you can take them and put them wherever you need them. Like if you're going to use them for a iron golem farm, or if you're going to use them to make a larger villager breeding setup, or if you're going to take them and do a bunch of villager trading with them. We did a lot of testing to do with new villager breeders during our snapshot testing streams, which are every Wednesday as well as Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you guys would like to take part in discovering new things as well as designing new farms, I highly recommend coming along and joining the stream, because we do actually open up a server where the viewers can join us during the builds of these contraptions. You can find more information down in the description. Now you notice that this design has a lot of similarities with my last villager breeder for 1.14, but the biggest change is the villagers think they have to get to their beds, so instead of just completely enclosing them and just putting some beds like above them, we have trapdoors with the beds kind of closer to them. Villagers are also close to the water stream, which is moving the crops by, and you don't need to have ice on all the spots where the crops move, just where it goes underneath of spots where there's no water. The crops moving by, they're picking up these crops, and twice a day they're deciding to breed and to have a child. And what will happen is the baby villagers will be summoned directly in the center of one of the parents, and then they will fall in between the cracks here between the beds as well as this post here. You just see that baby fall down. Then they get moved along these waterways, and there's even some waterways here that is specifically made for baby villagers. The water can continue onwards, and then the villagers can just be put wherever you want to keep them. And if you want to, you can actually keep these villager babies nearby. You don't have to like transport them so far away, because the baby villagers will try to take one of the beds near the parents, but we actually have 4 beds around the parents. Therefore, there's 2 extra beds, and since the parents will produce 2 babies per day, each baby will take one of the extra beds. But then at night, the babies that end up over here will lose their beds during the nighttime, and this will free up the beds for the next day so that the parents can have 2 more babies once again. So when it does turn night, the parents are actually close enough to hop into the bed, and this isn't necessary for the villagers to breed. They just have to see the beds nearby. But with this design here, they are able to actually hop into the beds as well. You see they're sleeping in their beds. Now if the villagers are in a breeding mood while they're going to bed, the baby can end up being spawned where they are at, which is over here. And this isn't a problem because the baby will oftentimes sleep in the bed. Then when it turns day again, he will wake out of the beds just like the parents, and they will end up over here. So let me set it to daytime. See that the parents will end up inside of the cells, so they won't end up like on top of the beds. Now if the baby is trying to pathfind to a bed that is kind of far away, he might end up getting kind of stuck behind these trapdoors. And this rarely occurs, but you can see this guy here is one of those babies. In which case, when he does grow up, he will be put directly inside this solid block up here, and he'll just suffocate and get removed. And therefore this villager won't occupy any of the beds, preventing more baby villagers from being created. But most of the time the villagers will actually breed during the daytime, and they will be finished breeding by the time nighttime occurs. The way that we have these villagers spaced out, you kind of see here we have about 2 blocks in between them, and each set of villagers is sitting on top of a post, and around them are sets of beds just going in a circle. And that way each of these beds kind of correlate to these villagers over here, and these villagers can see each of these beds around them, so they can produce babies for them. And each set of villagers are just like this, and then this is all tileable, so you can extend this as long as you want and as wide as you want as well. So let's up here, I just did a 4x4 area of villager breeding pairs. You can see how I also route the crops around, making sure to put ice underneath of each of these slabs here. But yeah, the crops go around and they just get realigned to these trapdoors. Now these trapdoors are used to keep the villagers in, as well as allows them to see these beds around them. So they kind of have to see all 4 sides to see all 4 beds. Then the crops will just meander through all the different villagers, as many as you need. To make this bigger, you can always put in more ice The crops won't despawn at the very end. But you need a very large farm before you'd have to worry about that. And then in the end, we just go ahead and destroy any extra crops, or you can go ahead and store them. Now down under here where the baby villagers get swept away, we have those cobble walls, or they could be fences. You just gotta make sure that there's some blocks on the side so they don't fall in between the gaps. So that's why some of the things are kind of walled off. Same thing goes for like this edge here. If we went ahead and walled this edge off so the babies won't jump off of it if you build this too close to the ground. The way that the baby villagers come out is just like my old design where the babies will fall down into the stream and all be collected together in a single location. Now you don't need an extremely fast crop farm, but there are new 1.14 crop farms that will work for this. Mira, or also known as Snorlax, has been doing a lot of testing with crop farms, and he actually designed a crop farm which I will link down in the description. All you have to do is attach that to this farm here, and then align the items just like so, and then it'll be good to go. Now you notice during daytime, some of the villagers were angry. They put off those little rain clouds particles effects over their heads instead of hearts. This occurs when the villagers cannot find enough beds to produce babies. Now I'm using Fax's data pack, which is really nice. And you can find his data pack on the ProtoTech community Discord channel, which is always linked down below. By using these different functions, we can show all the villagers important information, including where they think their beds are at. So if we go ahead and look down at these babies here, you can see that they used to all have a bed, which is considered their home, but now you see that all their homes are not occupied by any numbers. Let's look at the parents. You can see right here that their information contains their home, which is just the coordinates of the bed. And it's actually the head part of the bed. The villagers were getting angry because during recording I did not set it to night. But now that it is night, you can see all the babies are able to free up the beds that they held. And now the parents will have those beds to use in the next day. And Grandma Mommy is the one that told me about the baby villagers losing their beds at night. This significantly helps out with making villager breeders. She's also been doing a lot of testing to do with villager breeding. Now this still can be done if you're auto sleeping. So auto sleeping is when you have like a bed and you have a right click button held down so that as soon as it turns night, you're going to go to bed. But the way the villagers work, they actually go to bed before the player can, and therefore the majority of the time the babies are able to lose their bed slot before the player is even able to sleep. This is also useful like in iron farms, since the villagers will reset the last time they're in bed, allowing more iron golem to be spawned in. If I just go ahead and sleep, you'll see that it will be turning to daytime, and the villagers will all come out of their beds. And the babies down here still don't have any homes, but the parents up here will all be able to start breeding again. You can see all their hearts again. And when the villagers come out of the beds, they're going to be aligned in a very particular direction. So they're going to be aligned in the northwest corner of the block that they're standing in, which is kind of strange. It's something just added in 1.14. It makes it a little bit more consistent when working with villagers. Now they will eventually kind of push themselves around. It doesn't matter, even if they're completely stacked directly on top of each other, they're still able to breed, and the babies are still able to come out and fall into the water stream down below. But because of this alignment, this also means that I could not just have the carrots be aligned between two sets of villagers like we were doing on stream. So on stream, we were going ahead and we were having the carrots kind of be aligned directly between these two sets of villagers, and we were allowing the closest villager to pick up the crops, as they had to be about 1 block away for them to be able to reach it. So if I had the crops aligned right here, villager in this corner could grab it, and the villager in this corner could grab it. But the partner to this villager, who's usually in the opposite corner, would not be able to reach it, and then he would just get fed by this one throwing him items, which now they're really good at picking up items, so therefore he would end up picking up all the items, and none of them would actually fall into the water stream below. And if the villagers could kind of realign themselves every time they come out of their beds, then this might work. But if they decide just to kind of sit on top of each other, then they won't be able to pick up any crops. And because of this, we actually have a water stream for every group of villagers. We have a water stream for these guys, and so on. And once in a while, I see a villager that gets angry. So these are the ones that have these thunder particles. And this is because the bed that they're trying to choose for their baby has already been chosen by a different pair of villagers. This pair of villagers will usually choose beds that are closest, but once in a while they'll choose a bed that's a little bit farther, like this one here. And then these villagers won't be able to use that for their child. But they will eventually fix themselves out, so you don't have to worry about that. I notice on this end here, this group of villagers, for some reason one of their villagers doesn't want to sleep in the bed closest to him, like this bed here. They'll end up sleeping in this guy's bed over here. And then when he comes out, he will end up being inside of this cell over here. I'm not sure how he's able to reach from where he's currently at all the way over to hop into this bed. But it seems to only be this guy here on the corner. So I'll continue to do testing to see what exactly makes him want to be able to jump 2 beds. Now the villagers won't attempt to breed unless they actually have enough food to. So if you're seeing them have any type of hearts, that means they have enough food. If you see them producing the angry cloud particles, that means they have enough food, but they're just unable to find a bed for their baby villager to go to. Now, if the babies are born down on the beds, and they happen to go over here by this trap door, they won't actually suffocate or anything, and they might actually bounce on the beds, because that's what baby villagers like to do. They'll end up in this water stream, and that's why we have this solid block above it. So if they get stuck in this position, and they grow up, this will suffocate them, so they will die. And you can fill in stone in here too, if you happen to see babies that escape coming through here and going out this way. This normally only occurs when you're changing the day cycle really quickly, so they're not able to go through a full day of breeding. Because most of the time, by the time it turns nighttime, the guys will already be done doing their 2 breeds per day, which is where they're limited at. The amount of villagers that this will produce really depends on how big you make this. So here we got a 4x4, that's 16 pair or 32 villagers. Essentially what you'll do is produce 1 baby villager per day. So these 32 villagers here will produce 32 babies in 1 day. Now down here, I just have the command block, which is putting in the carrots. So by taking that out, you can see the carrots have turned off. And during the stream, we came up with a lot of different types of design. This one seemed most straightforward as it resembled my old 1.14 design. Let's take a look at some of the things that we tried. So here's our testing area. You can see our iron farm testing over there as well. This is where we had the initial testing when the changes to the villagers. We know villagers weren't breeding. They're throwing food back and forth. That was pretty much it. And we first noticed that the villagers would seem to only breed if they were on top of the beds and there was at least 3 beds. These guys would breed. Then we went and tested it with trapdoors as they think they can go through them. And therefore they think they can get to these beds. And these guys would also produce a baby. Excel came out with some nice designs over here where you can see the villagers are nicely stacked all right beside each other. And then all the babies would be taken to the center here. And over here you can see the design where we tried to align the food so we could run just a couple water streams to do both sides. But as you can see, the villagers, when they move around, they could be on the opposite side and unable to pick up the food. But overall, I really like it that the villagers will align to the same position every time they come out of a bed, because consistency is really nice when designing things like this. You guys also tried stacking designs where they had the pairs stacked on top of each other, which also does work. You just have to try to get food to them in this position. Now the villagers don't even have to be able to go into beds, they just have to be near them thinking that they can go to them. So these villagers are sitting in a boat here. You can see this design produced a baby who's over here. And Farmer Joe did quite a bit of testing with this, where you can put like the villager even right here in the center. And they have to be somewhat close, otherwise they won't be able to use these beds over here. You can see these villagers are trying to put hearts off, but they're also putting off angry symbols because they can't currently use these beds. See if we turn them around and the headpiece is closer to them. There you see it produced a baby. So they're really looking for the headpiece, so you gotta make sure that's kind of close to them. Downside to using them is that boat, that's just more entities you have to have in your farm. And here you can see the villagers' hitboxes. When they go in bed, the hitbox gets quite small, but it's still there, and sometimes the villagers are kind of able to push each other out of the beds. It was a lot of fun designing all the different types of breeding setups with the viewers, and we will be doing more testing of this tonight. Now, as always, I will provide the world download in the description, and you can see how to build it up block for block. This is just the best way for me to give you guys world downloads. As if I did an actual video about doing tutorials on how to build these stuff up, it's most likely I would either make a mistake or you guys would make a mistake, and that would just cause a lot of confusion. But by providing you guys a world download, I will always know that whatever is in this world does work, and then you guys can get this world download knowing that it's going to work. But the actual build can be built out pretty much anything. You can see it's very simple blocks. We just got some stone, some trapdoors, a couple of fences, some slabs, some water. The hardest thing is getting the villagers in. Now the way you get these villagers into here is you just drop them down in here from above. So if you have like a villager here, you could push this villager in. You can use blocks to align it, but once he falls down, he's low enough so that if you have another villager here, their heads aren't going to like bump each other, so you can push the other one in as well, and then you can just close the trapdoor. It's always a lot of fun designing new farms, and if you guys did enjoy this, go ahead and show this video with a like, as well as share it with someone else that you know that needs a villager breeder for 1.14. And if you guys discover any quirky stuff while playing in the 1.14 snapshots, you can always tell me down in the comments. If you guys would like to see more farms like this in the future, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because I make tons of videos like this, making every single possible farm you could think in Minecraft, and probably many more that you would never think of. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.